Welcome back to Imperfectly Permaculture. I'm Destiny, and I live and garden in USDA Growing Zone 4B in the foothills of Western Maine. It's the end of May, and I promised a garden update, so here I am to give you a quick look around of what things are looking at. The front flower bed is a little quiet right now. That tells me that I need to work on filling in some flowers that will bloom in this period in future years. I have been planting in some new plants, so hopefully next year we will have some more blooms here during this time period. One thing that is blooming right now is this Camassia. Doesn't want to focus right now. There we go. So those are beautiful, and there's a few of those in this front bed, so hopefully those will fill in the coming years. This patch of iris is just about ready to start putting out flowers. It's got some buds. And I've added 2 hydrangeas up here next to the lilac. Those are beginning to leaf out, and hopefully in the coming years they'll make a nice little display here. The kitchen garden is pretty planted out at this point. There's still more to put in, but here in just behind the new asparagus we planted, I've put in a trellis to grow Doloff beans. They're a drying bean that we really loved last year, so we're trying them again. And we've got turnips and carrots and beets and scallions coming in this bed. It's looking pretty healthy. And my salad bed is doing great. There's another trellis here. I will be putting in some more beans after the radishes are harvested. Along this fence line, I've put in some indigo plants. We're going to experiment with making indigo dye this year, and if it's something that we enjoy doing, we'll maybe plant some in future years. This is my Gloriosa daisy, one of my Gloriosa daisies, coming in lush, and the hop vine is climbing. There's our compost pile in the background. Over at the little pond, things are greening up. Lots of violets. There's a hydrangea in the shade. Some carrots that I left to flower. Lots of bee balm. Good King Henry. Lovage. Some hyssop. Bit of kale that overwintered. A lot of weeds. And this hop is the star of the show this year. It is already to the top of the 8-foot fence. Lots of herbs. This grapevine, which has put on some grape flowers, clusters. I don't know what they are. The Sweet William Dianthus is starting to bloom. And down with it, there's also some common mallow, which makes beautiful flowers. This is a new strawberry mound for this year. So those are coming in. And there's also some asparagus planted in here that hopefully will emerge soon. Over here, we have snow peas, more beets, turnips, and radish. And those are coming in. They were sown a bit after the first bed, so they're not quite as far along. That's our succession planting, so we'll have staggered harvest. Over here, our garlic is looking amazing this year, and there's some kale and lettuce and chard planted in among the garlic. And we also have a couple of potato sprouts coming up, so we must have not harvested all of them last year. And here we have a strawberry and asparagus bed. It's coming in really nicely. The strawberries have really been filling in. These are everbearing strawberries. The new beds that I've shown you are June bearing, so we'll have 2 different crop types to make use of. Good King Henry has gone to seed, and hopefully we'll spread some more this year so that we'll have lots to harvest in future years. And in a couple of the openings in the strawberries, I've added in some hot pepper plants for this season. Along this fence line, I've planted shelling peas. We had some really cold nights this spring, so they're a little bit behind where they might be, but they're doing well. Bee balm, hyssop, rose, chives, lemon balm, yarrow, dandelions, all doing well. It's a pretty dense planting, but so far they've been happy together. In this bed, I've put in eggplants, and there are stakes next to the seedlings so they can be tied and supported as they get bigger. The area behind them isn't planted out yet, but I plan to either add some more greens or perhaps some summer squash, depending on where I tuck all those in. I've also got a few chamomile plants starting along the side. And on this side, I'll have a couple of bush green beans going, hopefully sprouting soon. The herb bed is doing well. Sage, chives, some basil plants. Those were potted for too long, but they're starting to recover. I've got some seed fennel behind the chive there. A little bit more hyssop, a smaller lovage plant, another lovage, and lots of parsley. This parsley patch now is self-sowing and makes it easier not having to replant it each year. Some lemon thyme here. And then just along the fence line, there's also some German thyme getting started. I've got 2 lavender plants. Lavender can be pretty challenging to grow in my climate. They often don't make it through the soggy winters and springs, but these 2 so far seem happy. This bed we have tomato seedlings put in now, and those will be staked and caged. They're an indeterminate variety, and so they get pretty unruly and need a lot of support. And if they continue to get tall, I may eventually tie them over onto the fence for additional support. We've had some cutworms in this bed going after my kale, but some of these little kale seedlings continue to survive, so hopefully at least a few make it. I've also got some broccoli rabe going. This bed here is not yet planted out. It will probably be some cucurbits going in there, and those are still inside. We've had a lot of cucumber beetles and squash borers, and so I wanted to start my plants a little later this year to try to maybe break that cycle, so as those emerge they won't find food here and hopefully will leave, and then I can get my plants in the ground. And then up here in the mini orchard, things are coming along. Got elderberries, honeyberries, blueberries, a nice rhubarb, fruit trees all leafing out, looking lush. just really enjoy coming out here now that we've been able to remove the cages from them. We're also working on burying our irrigation lines here. And then this is a new strawberry and asparagus hugel mound, so those are more June bearing. And this little patch here is kind of my favorite of the mini orchard because I feel like it's really filling in to more of what I've envisioned things looking like. So there's lots of clover, wild violets, the walking onions, some dandelions. There's daisies coming in, a little bit of bee balm, these camasias, all up against the strawberries and asparagus there. So this sort of lush polyculture without grass to worry about mowing is what I ultimately hope this whole area will become, but it takes time. And along this back fence, the raspberry canes are waking up. My aronia bush is opening a couple of little flowers. We've got some new hop vines awakening along the fence posts. The smaller aronia is clinging on. Hopefully it does well. It's flagged so we don't accidentally string trim it or anything. It's been a really nice spring. May has given us a lot of growth. And I feel like just my whole system as it's, coming into its third year, fourth year, starting to be closer to what I've imagined. So there you have it. There's where things are in the kitchen garden, mini orchard, and flower beds this time of year. Things are really starting to fill in and begin to look more like what I've imagined in my dreams. Thanks for watching. Check back again. I hope to have another video on permaculture principles coming soon. I hope that you will like the video, subscribe to the channel, and keep watching. Take care.